Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first round of the first ever Road to Formula Virtual R2F Karting Trophy with myself, Alex Goldschmidt, the official voice of this six-round championship. Hope you're all staying safe and keeping well. And we are at the first of six venues. We are at the House of Karting in South Garda in Italy, and we have got an exciting evening. Firstly, a big thank you to our partners, Kart Sim Limited. Also, IMB Racewear and the GPVWC Sim Racing crew as well. As you can see on your screens, the track itself bathed in sunshine, as we normally do find the majority of the time in Italy. When it's time to go racing, 29 degrees air temperature, 29 degrees track temperature. And for those wondering about the format at the moment, we are currently in the latter stages of our practice qualification, where the drivers have had to, well, it looks like qualifying now getting well and truly underway. So the format for each evening, so we will have this week at South Garda. Next week will be Zuera in Spain and then Le Mans in France, which will mean we hit the halfway point before we head to Adria Karting Raceway for round 4 on the 5th of December. The Azulring in Kristianstad in Sweden hosts the penultimate round of the season, and then the final round is at the home of champions Karting Genk in Belgium, where we will crown our Road to Formula Karting Trophy champion. And for those watching across the globe, obviously both on YouTube and also on Twitch, thank you very much for joining us. So we have some familiar faces within the karting fraternity, one of which is Austria's Raphael Renhofer in the number 3 kart, as he's making his ways on an outlap at the moment. It has been recommended to all drivers that are competing this evening. I think we have 5 due to compete, one of which who is actually based in Mexico and has really liked what we're going to be doing this evening. There is Kai Rielert, the 2020 Rotax Max Euro Trophy champion, and also currently leading the way alongside Lucas Schoenmakers in the BNL karting series. We've also got Jaden Thien from the Netherlands, and there is the number 4. I've known Jaden from his days in the BNL karting series. Then he switched over to other categories this season, racing predominantly in continental Europe. So we'll wait to see how he gets on in qualification. So the format is it's 3 timed laps around the circuit, and then we will have 3 heats. And just like in karting, the intermediate classification will be exactly the same. So if you score a win in each heat, it's 0 points. If you're second, it's 2 points, 3 points for third, and so on and so forth. So effectively, as say in Euro Trophy current regulations, if you are at the top of the intermediate classification and you have the least points, you're on pole position for final 1, and then the result from final 1 becomes the starting grid for final number 2. And just like in Euro Trophy fashion, it will be 25 points for a victory, 20 for second, 16 for third, 13 for fourth, and then 11 for fifth, and so on. And then it goes all the way down to 15th position. So what prizes are on offer, as Raphael Renhofer is actually fastest of anybody through both sectors at the minute, with around 2 minutes and 43 seconds still to go. He's put in a 49.505 across the line he goes, and that is over 3.5 tenths of a second quicker, of 49.153 from Raphael Renhofer. Then we go to Kai Rielert, who's faster by over a tenth of a second in sector number 1. Now he puts that on provisional pole, 1/100th quicker. That's still than Raphael Renhofer. So we've got to wait for Jaden Thien amongst. We're just waiting to see if Jaden is going to be able to make it out for qualifying with just over 2 minutes to go, as Renhofer goes 27 thousandths quicker in sector 1. So he's had a little bit of a moment going to the hairpin there, and the back end started to step out. Very different to what the true feeling of being in a kart is, but he's 44 thousandths up on sector 2. Looks like a good lap time from Raphael Renhofer, and just loses a lot of time in sector number 3, down by about 2 tenths of a second. So for those wondering about what the prizes are in terms of the championship here in the Road to Formula Virtual Trophy, so the champion in this will receive a 3 months guidance with Road to Formula, worth around €650. Also, we'd like to say a big thank you to IMB Raceware for putting up the second prize, which will be a custom set of karting or simulator gloves provided by them. They've just released not that long ago quite a few bits and pieces in terms of racewear and also clothing too. And then also for third in the championship, one data acquisition session on a track of the driver's choice, courtesy of Road to Formula. There are still plenty of opportunities to get yourselves involved. So if you do want to go and head to road2formula.com and click on where it says R2F Trophy, and that will give you all the information you need to know. So just over 35 seconds remaining in qualifying at the moment. No time set by Jaden Thien, unfortunately, but Kai Rilatz by 1/100th of a second puts it on provisional pole for the first race. Well, this is effectively for qualification. This will determine the grids for all three heats. So that's how it normally works in qualifying for pretty much any sort of karting uh, series, such as the BNL Karting Series, Rotax Germany, and also the Rotax Max Euro Trophy for the heats side of things. Well, that's it. Time has now expired, and I can confirm our inaugural pole sitter on the virtual Road to Formula Karting Trophy is Kai Rielitz with a 49.142. Rafael Renhofer able to set a lap time and was just 11 thousandths off of the young Belgian. Jaden Thien, he'll start from third position. We will have one of our competitors with us a little bit later on. So that is it for qualification. And we're going to be getting ready very, very shortly to get our first 10-lap heat underway. So if you just bear with us. Okay, so we're just going to go to a brief break here on the Road to Formula YouTube and Twitch channels. We'll be right back to get things underway with the first of three heats this evening. Hopefully that was all okay. Well, welcome back. Had a few issues with drivers trying to join the server, but looks like things are getting back underway. We've got a little bit of a warm-up going on, and there is a Jaden Thien. Frederik van Overloop also joins us. Didn't make it into qualification, but will start at the back of the grid. As you can just see, the drivers, it doesn't really matter whether you're on a sim or in a real track, you will push the limits of adhesion, and that is what the driver in front of Jaden Thien quite clearly did just a second ago. There is Kai Rielets, and we're getting into the sub 49 second bracket here as Renhofer has put in a 48.840. Rielets on a 49.361. There is Renhofer. Comes across the line, 48.99. Quick in the final sector there, a 14.377 for the young Austrian. So had one withdrawal, unfortunately, this evening, but hopefully we should be able to have a few more people on the grid for the next round at Zuera in just a week's time. So very shortly, we'll hopefully get things underway once the warm-up has been completed. Each of the qualification heats will be 10 laps in duration, and then each final will be 15 laps in length around here at the fantastic circuit here at South Garda. It's just over 1,000 metres, and you can see that Renhofer has gone quickest by about 6/1000ths in Sector 1, just under a tenth and a half down in Sector 2 as he crosses the line once again. 49.011, so pretty consistent there. So we've got just 4 minutes remaining on the session. Jaden Thien's been running in the 49.5s. Well, actually, make that the 49.2s because he's just gone quicker than Kai Rielets on a 49.210. For those wondering what platform we are using, it is R Factor 2, and the carts are the Senior X30s. So everyone is in exactly the same machinery, and it is more a case of the skill of the driver will reign supreme here in the virtual Road to Formula Karting Trophy. Thien down by just over a quarter of a second in Sector 1 as he absolutely wallops the sausage curbs on the left-hand side of that chicane, but still keeping it on the tarmac, and just has one more hairpin to go before going onto the main straightaway. So he was down by over 3/10 in Sector 2, a 49.578. So Jaden Thien running at the top two positions. Kai Rielets could very shortly be... as Thien has a moment, and that was a pirouette, but at least it's virtual. Okay, looks like we're now going to head to our first of 3 qualifying heats, and it will be 10 laps in duration. So following on from qualifying, your grid will be as follows. Kai Rielets will start on pole position. Rafael Renhofer will line up alongside on the second row, on the front row in P2 with Jaden Thien and Frederik van Overloop rounding out the 4-strong grid. We will have our Mexican contingent joining us. So let's see how things happen here at South Garda for the first round of the virtual Road to Formula Karting Trophy, brought to you in association with Kart Sim Limited, GPVWC and IMB Raceware. So we're now on board, and that is looks to be Jaden Thien in the number 3. So it is a rolling start 2x2 formation, as is customary in karting circles, and the drivers will have indicators on their simulators at home on the screens showing the tyre temperature, the amount of wear, and just like in the real world, it is about strategy in karting, and it's who can get the best start possible and who can really maximize the advantage and keep those tyres at the absolute limit for as long as humanly possible before it all gets a bit up close and personal. So the drivers now will be getting themselves ready to go racing here at South Garda. Okay, looks like we're going to be doing a restart possibly. That will be the case. So there was a slight server issue. So we have made sure that we will get things underway momentarily. So it is a full restart, and the drivers will have to watch what happens. Kai Rilets, according to this, looks to be in the pits, which can not necessarily mean that he's going to be in the pits. He might have an issue. Well, let's see. It looks like he's coming back onto the server here, so sometimes these things do happen. So now we get underway with the formation app. We're on board with Frederik van Overloop, who's just behind, I think it is Renhofer in the number 3. So they're now going to start making their way around the 1,010 metre circuit here at South Garda. And it is going to be interesting to see how they adapt their real-life karting exploits onto the virtual racing world here at South Garda, with Zuera being the next round. And then we'll have Le Mans, Adria, Christianstad, and Genk. And I couldn't have thought of a better place to crown our champions in the Limburg region in Belgium from a virtual perspective. But we all hope, all of us here at Road to Formula, that you're all keeping well and staying safe wherever you are watching across the world. So it's going to be very interesting. So Rilets on pole, Renhofer in second, Thien in third, and Van Overloop rounding out the top 4. The 4 drivers that will compete in the 3 qualification heats. 10 laps of racing set to get underway here in Italy. And now they'll head towards the final corner. It will be down to Rilets and Renhofer to control the pace. So this is where it's going to get interesting, ladies and gentlemen. They go and split into the tram lines. They start to press the accelerators to the floor. Is it lights out? Are we off and away? Is it a clean start? Looks to be the case, as the drivers now filter their way through the first few corners into the main hairpin complex here at South Garda. We're on board with Jaden Thien, who's got Van Overloop breathing down on towards his back bumper, as Rilets has a lead over Renhofer. Oh, Thien's got off the track already. Van Overloop tries to send it through the first, that hairpin, and misses out big time, and Renhofer's even off the track. So we've gotten into the first race of the evening, and everyone seems to have dropped the ball, so to speak, but not Kai Rilets, because Rilets at the moment is running at about, he's running quite considerably faster. I think that was a full start, possibly. I'll wait to hear from race control, because it looks like that's 40 kilometers an hour that Rilets is doing at the minute. So I'm not too sure whether it might have been. So, yeah, I'll just wait for confirmation. But Rilets is going a lot slower than I would have expected. Yeah, might have been a formation lap issue to put them onto the rolling start. So if it was classed as a full start, that's probably why. So the server will have had to have reset itself. So fingers crossed this time around. Okay, looks like we're going to have another restart this time. So just bear with us. And we just have to... So we're just going to wait for everyone to jump back on to the circuit. And hopefully we get things going well and truly. So this time around, they are all starting to make their way onto the circuit. So Rilets will lead the field away. Once again, we're on board with Rafael Renhofer, Jaden Thien, and Frederik van Overloop. So hopefully this time we'll get things going. So we now head through the mid part of the circuit towards the far end of it. And we will see if this time around things get away a little bit cleanly. Please, we can only just apologise for obviously technology these days. We do try our level best to get things going, and it could be the case very, very soon indeed. So we are coming into the latter part of the circuit by that fantastic grandstand on the left-hand side. So Rilitz will look to get the jump on the rest of the field. Renhofer will look to charge through too, as we now come round the final corner. The drivers now split, go into the tram lines. They now start to press the accelerators down close to the floor. Will it be lights out and off and away? Yes, that is the case. Brilliant start by Rilitz as Jaden Thien absolutely catapulted himself past Rafael Renhofer, who gets a little bit of a tag from Van Overloop just behind. Into the next right-hander they go as Rilitz and Thien go nearly side by side. Rilitz takes the inside line. Thien in second. Renhofer in third. Van Overloop rounding out the four-strong grid as we go on board with the left helmet cam of Rafael Renhofer. Currently in third place behind Jaden Thien. Top three, well, the whole field covered by just over 0.8 of a second. They both, it was Thien and Renhofer banzaiing their way over the curbs as we go towards the end of lap number 1, and it is absolutely closer than anything between the quartet on your screens at the moment. So Rilitz leads by just over 0.3 of a second ahead of Jaden Thien. Rafael Renhofer rounds out the top 3. Frederik Van Overloop rounding out the 4-strong grid. Looks like Van Overloop is the slowest out of the quartet at the moment, as Rilitz has put in the fastest lap of anybody. 51.439. Jaden Thien still holding on to second at the minute, but Rafael Renhofer not too far behind the young Dutch driver. And this is where it gets rather interesting. Very interesting dynamic that the circuit at South Garda actually has in terms of the technicality, but also it's fast and flowing in its true nature, and the amount of hairpins that you have to go through, especially towards the end of the circuit, is now the top 3, nearly line astern, covered by just over 0.75 of a second. We now go on to lap number 3 out of 10. And Rilitz looking to extend that lead. He's put in a 49.596. He's the fastest driver in sector number 1. But Jaden Thien looks like he's making himself have the hurry up sign, because he's fastest in sectors 2 and 3. A 17.197 in sector 2, as Van Overloop now goes fastest of anybody in this race in sector 1. We go on board with the number 5. So just over 1.6 seconds covers these 4 drivers as Van Overloop gets a little bit of snap oversteer through into the right-hander before the first hairpin on the latter sort of complex here at South Garda. And Rilitz still keeping it nice and composed. Let's see what the lap times are. 49.278 from Rilitz. Jaden Thien not too far behind with the 49.322. Renhofer 49.537, and a personal best now from Frederik Van Overloop of 49.436, and he's as you can now see, Renhofer trying to close on Jaden Thien. So it's been pretty much even Stevens, and that's what you like about karting, because normally when you have about 36 drivers, say in senior Rotax, from my perspective, you can see that a lot of drivers will keep their cards close to their chest. And I think we're seeing that quite now, because these drivers, as we're about to hit the halfway point, we're going to hit the complete lap number 4 and go on to lap 5. Rilitz now has a lead of nearly, well, over 0.7 of a second. Make that 0.9 ahead of Jaden Thien, who's got Renhofer not too far behind. Rilitz has gone faster than anybody and has set the fastest lap of the race. We go on board with the number 1. That's quite apt because of the in terms of the fact that he was the first driver to register for the virtual Road to Formula Karting Trophy, irrespective of the fact that he's just won the Euro Trophy Championship after the final round at Karting Genk in early November got cancelled as a result of the current ongoing situation health-wise across the world due to the pandemic. But Rilitz quickest than anybody in well, he's put a personal best in sector 1. Let's see what the lap time is from the young Belgian, just 14 years of age. 49.314 that time, as Renhofer now steals the fastest lap, and he's closing on Jaden Thien to the battle for second and third, really heating up. We're on lap number 5 out of 10, as there's a little bit of dust kicked up from the left-hand side of Rilitz, as Renhofer looking to go up the inside of Jaden Thien through that hairpin. But Thien very much on the defensive line, making sure that he's keeping it in front of Renhofer as they now make their way down towards the latter part of the circuit. And we still have just the hairpin section at the end. Tighter line taken by Renhofer, but Thien will have the inside run for the next one. So second and third, literally you can't separate them. But Renhofer tries to banzai up the inside, a little bit of a touch with Thien. Thien runs wide, the pair nearly side by side as we go on to lap number 7 out of 10. And Gilitz's lead is absolutely, it's been, you know what they say, you give them an inch, you take a mile. Well, Kai Gilitz has taken a significant advantage as both Thien and Renhofer look like they're actually rally crossing as opposed to racing karts, but it's a very, very different proposition when you're in a simulator in comparison with, say, being on a kart in real life, because it's a very different sensation. And with 3 of these drivers that I know very, very well indeed, coming from the karting world, it's so good to see these youngsters having this opportunity to compete in a event just like this. So Relitz now has a lead of 2.2 seconds as he's now going to come around and cross the start-finish line to complete lap number 7. So 3 more laps to go here in the first qualification heat. So Relitz puts in the fastest lap of anybody, a 49.141, and that is 5 1,000ths quicker than the fastest effort of Raphael Renhofer, who we are now on board with at the moment. And Renhofer is still trying to close down on Jaden Thien. So still very much all to play for second and third position, whilst Relitz has rocketed away like a rat up a drain pipe. And in many respects, that is just customary of the form that we've seen from him this year in, well, trackside, myself in particular with the BNL Karting Series and Rotax Euro Trophy. There is Van Overloop, who, despite having some dramas himself, still keeping, he's about 4.3 seconds off of Kai Gilitz, so that's no mean feat at all as we go on to the penultimate lap in this first qualification heat. And Kai Gilitz looking to start getting things well and truly underway here on the qualification heat stages. So after this, one more lap remains. Jaden Thien now is the fastest driver out there, a 49.135 from the Dutch driver, from Sustenen. And I remember that from last time I saw him was at the 2019 Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals when he was a Minimax driver. And I hope Kim, his mum, and Raymond, I hope you're all keeping well over there in the Netherlands. It's been a long, long time. Now on to the final lap we go. Gilitz has got a lead of just over 1.9 seconds, make that 2 seconds a minute, as Thien and Renhofer still battling away for second position in the dying stages. As oh, it's getting a bit tight and twisted. Oh, Jaden Thien off and hits the barriers. Real shame for the youngster there. That will keep him in third position as Van Overloop is nowhere near Jaden Thien to try and get past. But it has been so far in this evening that Kai Gilitz has got the jump on everybody and has really done a great job to start things off in the right way. He now will come round the final corner and winning the first qualifying heat of the season. It is Belgium's Kai Gilitz. And that is a commanding victory. He takes the win by just over 1.6 seconds. Jaden Thien crosses the line in third place, with Frederik van Overloop rounding out the 4-strong grid. So Gilitz takes 0 points, Renhofer 2, Thien in third place, Van Overloop in fourth. So Gilitz leads the standings after the first qualification heat. In very, very short time indeed. Obviously, we will have a slight pause whilst we go to a short break before we get things underway with our second qualifying heat here on Road to Formula for the virtual Road to Formula karting trophy. Back in a moment. Welcome back. So a little bit of a hiatus. Obviously, what we want to make sure is that with the drivers that they have an opportunity just to keep their skills a bit sharper, get to know the track a bit more. So let's have a look at the grid once again for qualifying heat number 2. It's going to be exactly the same as what we had last time. So Kai Helitz, who won the first qualifying heat earlier on, will start on pole position, and alongside him will be Rafael Reinhofer, Jaden Thien, and Frederick van Overloop will complete the 4-strong grid. As I'm wondering, do we get going this time? They have started racing, so it looks like that was a good start according to our virtual race control. So now we have had a little bit of a colour change, because there would have been possibly, for those at home, wondering, well, who was Jaden Thien, who was Rafael Reinhofer? Well, now we have a definitive answer. There's been a change for Jaden's colours, so he now will run in a different colour. So we go on board with Rafael Reinhofer. Jaden Thien has gone with a very striking orange colour there, which looks not too dissimilar from Frederick van Overloop, and it looks to be a little bit closer this time around. As now, there's a Banzai up the inside through past Rilets, as Thien now takes the lead as they come across the line to complete lap number 1. Great timing there from Jaden Thien, who now leads Kai Rilets by just over 0.3 of a second. Reinhofer, who we're on board with at the moment, is that was a bit wide there from Rilets. A brief yellow in sector 1 is now Rilets and Thien swapping positions. Now Rilets has dropped to 3rd place, quickly retakes 2nd from Reinhofer, as Van Overloop has an absolute mare of a moment. And as a result of that, now drops considerably way back from the top 3. So Jaden Thien now leading the lap here at the race here at South Garda, as we're fast approaching the completion of lap number 2 out of 10. So in many respects, this is where things get interesting. I'm sure that most drivers, especially ones that have won championships, will look to strike first whilst the iron's hot and make good their escape. Well, Kai Rilets, unfortunately, in this race, had a bit of a moment, and, well, it was Jaden Thien's opportunistic banzaiing up the inside like Daniel Ricciardo that allowed him the opportunity to get past and take the lead. And so we're on lap number 3 out of 10, jumping over the sausage curves through the chicane towards the far part of the circuit. And now it's the multi-hairpin complex. So through the first one, the right, then into the left, then into the right, which brings them onto the start-finish straights. And now the top 3, rounded out by Reinhofer, completing now what is lap number 3, as Kai Rilets has just put in a 49.170 on that particular occasion. Jaden Thien is actually the fastest in the first 2 sectors, with Rilets on a 14.389 in sector number 3. Yes, moment there between Rilets and Thien, and Reinhofer now gets the lead on lap number 4. So I'm not too sure if there was a little bit of a coming together between the pair. However, that has changed the race dynamic once more. And there is Thien. Or is that Van Overloop? No, that is Jaden Thien. They're squabbling between themselves like a trio of petulant children trying to battle over the swing in the playground. And at the moment, Thien is winning that battle. Well, he was until Rilets went up the inside of him. So I think they do say that karting is a non-contact sport, but in the virtual world, it looks like something else at the moment. But Jaden Thien looking to set it at Banzai up the inside of Reinhofer, goes up the inside of the Austrian to take 2nd, switch back from Reinhofer as Thien runs wide. So nice little bit of a battle there between the pair. So Rilets now back in the lead towards the halfway point of the race. Reinhofer in 2nd, Thien just chasing him down like a wolf chasing a hungry wolf chasing after its prey. But at the moment, nothing doing for the Dutch driver. Van Overloop is about 9.7 seconds behind Thien and is in 4th position at the minute. So even though we've got a minimal amount of competitors on this grid for the first round of the virtual Road to Formula Karting Trophy, it has been excitement, because I kind of thought when I saw some familiar names, I thought, we could have a little bit of spicy racing here this evening, and they have definitely provided that in spades. So lap number 6 out of 10. Go on board with Jaden Thien, who's closing up once again on Renhofer as a bit of dust kicked up by the left two wheels of Kai Rielertz as they head towards the final part of the circuit here at South Garda Karting. And it has been rather interesting. Top three now covered by just over 1 second. Make that just under 1 second as Thien gets really close in the braking zone through into the first of the final three hairpins through the right on the back of Renhofer. Now they go through the final corner. 6 laps completed, 4 to go as we ride on board the right-hand helmet cam of Jaden Thien. And Thien last time around was the fastest in Sector 1. Renhofer fastest in Sector 2 as Renhofer goes rallycrossing again. And there is something in this, ladies and gentlemen, called track limits. So at a particular moment in time, there will be a point when the software will possibly provide a post-race penalty. I'm not too familiar with kart sim, but I know it's one of the ones that is really being used as a tool of the trade for the drivers to really keep their skills sharp during the off-season, obviously during the lockdown periods that have affected multiple countries. As there goes Renhofer up the inside of Rielertz through the final right-hand hairpin, but Rielertz powers around the outside, keeps the lead as we go on to lap number 8, and that was very close between the pair. They were covered by just over 0.2 of a second. So Renhofer, you can see some of the indicated speeds. We're hitting speeds approaching nearly 70 miles an hour before they hit the braking zones, so that's around about 110 to 112 kilometers per hour. Deep into the braking zone, braking from 62 miles an hour to around about 45. But now this is where they really pick up some speed, and especially if you get into the draft of the driver in front. No fear for these young drivers, especially when it comes to karting. And now this is where the hairpins really do take. Now it looks like Jaden Thien has had a bit of a moment. Oh, nice switchback from Renhofer. Then Rielertz bands eyes up the inside. The pair clash wheels and side pods. They tussle coming out of the final corner. 2 more laps to go in this race. And Renhofer gets through the first part of the chicane and retakes the lead onto the penultimate lap. But Rielertz now deciding to absolutely go hell for leather. And now he bands eyes up the inside. Renhofer gets smacked into the side of by Rielertz. And that, in my eyes, I think that could be investigated, if I'm completely truthful there. But it is not down to me. I'm just the voice. I'm not the messenger. I'm not going to be shot at by anybody. I tell you that now. But after this, we have 1 more lap to go in the penultimate qualification heat, which at the moment provisionally will have Kai Rielertz taking another victory. So 2 out of 2. Renhofer in second. Jaden Thien looks to be closing a little bit, but his last lap time was a 52.5, as now we go on to the final lap. But then Jaden Thien goes purple. That's a brilliant lap from the young Dutchman from Susteren. 49.160 on the penultimate lap of the race. He's got about 2.1 seconds to find. I think it's going to be close but no cigar for Jaden Thien to try and catch Rafael Renhofer. But Rielertz just a few more corners away once again from taking a second victory this evening on the official virtual Road to Formula karting trophy, brought to you in association with Kart Sim Limited, IMB Raceware, and the GPVWC Sim Racing League. So 2 more corners to go, and Kai Rielertz will win once again, but the gap will be a lot closer than it was last time. Round the final corner, Kai Rielertz weaves from side to side and picks up the second qualifying heat victory ahead of Rafael Renhofer, who was just under 0.6 of a second behind, but set the fastest lap of the race of 49.011. Jaden Thien puts a personal best in, and that was 94 thousandths slower, and he was quicker than anybody in sector number 2, with Frederik van Overloop rounding out the 4 strong once again. So the same points get allocated to the same drivers, obviously pending any stewarding decisions post qualifying heats. So obviously, I'm just calling them as I see them, and we have 1 more heat to go before we go into the 2 finals, both in duration, 15 laps in total, a total of 30 laps. It is 25 points for a win in both finals, and we'll be back in just a couple of moments' time when we get things underway with our 3rd and final qualifying heat here at South Garda for the opening round of the virtual Road to Formula karting trophy. Back in a moment. Hello, everyone, and welcome back ahead of the third qualification heat here at the opening round of the virtual Road to Formula Karting Trophy with myself, Alex Goldschmidt, your official commentator. Now, there was an investigation after the second qualification heat, and I can confirm that due to causing a collision, Kai Rilets was given a 5-second penalty post race number 2, and as a result of that, was demoted to third place, meaning that Rafael Renhofer was confirmed as the winner in race 2, ahead of Jaden Thien. Rilets in third place, ahead of Frederik van Overloop, and we now have Ed Boudron joining us for our 5th competitor. So effectively, that puts Ed on 10 points scored because, unfortunately, not being able to attend the first 2 races means that Ed Boutron will be at the back part of the field. We've got a little bit of this warm-up still to go, but I think very much we want to get some racing underway, don't we? We've got two more races after this one, so the server now being reset for another 10 laps. A big thank you, firstly, to our partners helping us with this, the GP VWC, IMB Racewear, and also Kart Sim Limited. A big thank you to them for helping to make this possible. So let's have a look at the starting order. So it does need to be amended because we will need to have that Renhofer should be on pole position. Jaden Thiem will start second. So we'll have to just reset that at the moment. So it will be... Oh, it's the qualifying. My apologies there. I've sort of contradicted myself there, haven't I? Whoops. Thank you, Mr. Broadcast Director. Thank you to Matteo, our broadcast director, who's done a really good job so far this evening. So we will now head on to the circuit, and it is the formation lap. So Rilets will start from pole. Thien will start from second, ahead of Venhofer, Frederik van Overloop, and Ed Boutron will round out the 5 strong. So 5 competitors as opposed to the 4 that we have as such. So in many respects, there has been a few people looking on the respective streams, both on Twitch and YouTube. Thank you very much for joining us, and good to see that there's someone that's that likes me as a commentator. Thank you very much, Alexander V, on YouTube, as we will be getting things very much ready to go. Or I think, are we racing? It looks like we are racing. So Rilets is leading the way, and he's done a 50.195 as Jaden Thien is ahead of Rafael Renhofer. Then we've got Van Overloop and then Ed Boutron rounding out the top 5, the 5 strong. Drivers separated by just over 4.1 seconds, so Boutron has a little bit of work to do. Oh, Van Overloop goes absolutely off the circuit there and bounds up and down, left and right, up and down, front and centre, backwards and forwards, whichever direction. I think Van Overloop's had every single way of that so far. As Jaden Thien is just behind Rafael Renhofer. So looks like there has been a little bit of a mistake there, especially from Boutron, who's now 6.4 seconds off of Kai Rilets, who now leads Renhofer by over 1.3 seconds. Jaden Thien is now 2.5 seconds adrift. He's starting to struggle a little bit here in the early goings as we're on to lap number 3, whereas Rilets has absolutely been lighting up the timesheets purple in the first 2 sectors and on for the fastest lap, whereas Renhofer did a 14.4 last time around. We now go on board with Kai Rilets. So Renhofer trying to keep close to the Belgian. Thien and Van Overloop running at the top 4, covered by 3.5 seconds. As Rilets has gone purple, he's absolutely decimated the second sector lap time. Sector time, it's a 17.1 from Kai Rilets, just over a tenth quicker than Renhofer. Now he completes lap number 3, and on to lap number 4 we go. Renhofer sets the purple, 1:49.117. So that was nearly a tenth quicker. Well, it was 95 thousandths quicker than Kai Rilets. Jaden Thien's running in the 49.127s at the moment. Van Overloop a 49.4. Ed Boutron rounding out the top 5 at 50.3 as Renhofer has gone 0.3 of a second nearly quicker in sector number 1. A great job by the young Austrian. Normally frequents Rotax racing circles like the Euro Trophy, the BNL Karting Series, and Rotax Max Challenge Germany, and a combined total of 0.289 seconds has in terms of his best laps so far. Could we go into the 48s this evening? We do. 48.853 from Renhofer, and that was an absolutely blistering first sector that allowed him to have that sort of lap time. Jaden Thien is on the cusp of doing so too. Boudron now running in the 50.3s once again, and there is the the fifth place driver. So he's running in kart number 1. Which is the identical colour to Rilets, but he is a bit too far back. He's 10 seconds off of Kai Rilets at the moment. So in many respects, yellow in sector 1, so someone's had a bit of a moment, but probably not too bad. But it might have been Rilets because he's lost time to Renhofer, and Renhofer has been closing in on him at the moment. And remember the final corner on the last heat. Renhofer went banzaiing up the inside, made the move on Rilets, through the final hairpin, and he's running consistently in a low 49.0, and also Kai Rilets a 48.9. So the second driver, the leader now out of the top 2 of this grid, now sub 49 seconds. Renhofer around about a second away from Rilets in the minutes as we're on to lap number 5, so we're past half distance. So on lap 6. And then after that, we'll have another 4 to go until we have the end of our qualifying heats here at the Virtual Road to Formula Karting Trophy. So this week it is South Garda. The week after it is Zuera in Spain, then France for Le Mans, Adria in Italy, Kristianstad in Sweden is our penultimate round, and then the final round will be at Genk, the home of champions, Karting Genk, to round off our season. But Renhofer looking even more menacing, and he's gone faster than anybody in Sector 2, and he's put in the fastest lap of anybody as well, a 48.725, and he's put a 17.0 in on Sector number 2, and I can really I've got a bit of a feeling in my gut that Rilets will be sensing that Renhofer is closing. He'll be looking at the delta intervals in the sectors, and Rafael Renhofer last time through the first sector was faster than Rilets, but then Rilets claws back over a tenth of a second in sector 2. Jaden Thien running in the sub 17.2 second bracket for sector 2 as now they come across the line to complete lap 7. What's the gap now between the pair? 0.3. And Rilets at a 49.245, Renhofer a 49.097, Jaden Thien running in the 49.3s. Ed Boudron in the in 5th place, still running in the 50.8. So very consistent for our last place driver at the moment. But we now get these great angles from our broadcast crew as we try and keep in touch with what's happening between Renhofer and Rilets. The gap is just over 0.2 of a second. Not even that as they go into the final 3 hairpins on this circuit here at South Garda Karting. Into the left-hand hairpin, the penultimate corner on the circuit. Look how close Renhofer gets up to the back bumper of Rilets this time around through the final turn. We're now going to go on to lap number 9, the penultimate lap of the race and also the qualifying heat stages here at the opening round of the season. 0.3 of a second separates the top 2 at the minute. So, bit of grass tracking there from Renhofer, but he keeps it planted well and truly and kicks up the dust at the same time. So, in many respects, Renhofer keeping it planted like he has done really has maintained the fact that he's kept around a 0.3 of a second disadvantage, as that's the minimum that he's probably had it extended to at some points in the latter part of this race, as we are on the penultimate lap. Renhofer has an opportunity to strike at Rilets, and it's anyone's guess as to when that might be. It could be in the next hairpin, it could be at the final turn on the final lap of the race. Look, Renhofer waiting, biding his time. Rilets runs a little bit wide coming out of the final corner. Renhofer look to the inside. Now onto the final lap of the qualifying heat stages here at South Garda Karting. Keeping on board with Renhofer in the minute. Down into the tight right-hander, which brings him onto the infield. A little bit of dust kicked up by the left rear of Rilets. Now into another right-hand hairpin. You can just see how hard these drivers are pushing. Renhofer knows that time is fast running out. Got about half a lap still to go in this race, which will then decide what happens in terms of the qualifying intermediate classification through the final chicane. 3 more corners to go. Into the right first of all. Renhofer looking to get the switch back. Rilets runs a little bit wide, keeps the inside line for the next left-hander. One more corner to go. Renhofer gets right up close and personal to Hillertz. Through into the inside. It could be a drag race to the finish, but this time Kai Hillertz makes it 2 out of 3 ahead of Raphael Renhofer, who takes second position. So a pretty good run there. And just judging by the intermediate classification, after all is said and done, your pole sitter for final number 1 with a total of 3 points will be Kai Gielert. And yes, Alexander V, that was a close one, my friend. Rafael Renhofer will start on the outside of row 1 in second position with 4 points. Jaden Thien at the minute has currently 8 points to his credit, putting him P3 on the grid with Frederick van Overloop and Ed Bouton rounding out the top 5. And that will be your grid lineup for final number 1, which we will hopefully get underway with in just a couple of moments' time. We'll be right back here on the official Road to Formula YouTube and Twitch streams. Back in a moment, folks. Okay, it is now time for the first of two finals this evening, and it is going to be an exciting one. We're going to have an interesting time. 15 laps for the two first finals here this evening on the virtual Road to Formula Karting Trophy, brought to you in association with Kart Sim Limited, GPVWC, and IMB Raceway. You've just seen the trailer reference their brand values, their mantras, and they're an exciting new brand. We're so really pleased here at the virtual Road to Formula Karting Trophy to be partnered with them, as Frederik van Overloop has a bit of a moment through the warm-up. So looks like we could be having just a minute or two to go until our first final of the evening. And what we will do is hopefully we'll try and see if we can grab an interview with a couple of drivers after both finals have been completed. It'd be good to catch up with a couple of them, and I'll ask them some questions about how their evening has been and so on and so forth. So your grid will be as follows for the very first race once we get drivers up and running. So I think we're going to try and see if we can reset and get the drivers off to racing. I know they've got about nearly 5 minutes to go on the warm-up. But again, 15 laps per race, 25 points for a victory, 20 for second, 16 for third, and then it's 13 for fourth, and 11 points for fifth place. So there will be quite a few talking points this evening, I think, and hopefully it will be more the case of how we will proceed over the next few moments. And it's a real pleasure to hear from so many of you on our official YouTube and Twitch channels. So we'll make sure that we'll keep interactive with you as well as much as humanly possible. Okay, so let's head to the race itself, the first of two 15-lap finals. So pretty much over around 15,000 meters. That's 1.5. Well, it's 15,000 meters, which is effectively 15 kilometers of racing. Here's your starting order. Kai Rilets, who was leading the intermediate classification with a total of 3 points, starts on pole position. Alongside him, once again, will be Rafael Renhofer. Jaden Thien in third place. Frederik van Overloop rounding out the top four, with Ed Bouton rounding out the 5-strong grid here at South Garda for the first final here at South Garda Karting. So it looks like we hopefully will get things underway very shortly indeed. So we're going to have a fast rolling lap. So let's just see what happens. Do we go lights out for the first final here? South Garda looks to possibly be the case as they filter their way through into the first few corners for the first time of asking. And Rilets already down to third place before we've even got going. So now this means that Van Overloop, Van Overloop going side by side through that hairpin, the right-hand hairpin. Jaden Thien right on the back bumper of Van Overloop. Kai Rilets now into second position, having dropped to third. Oh, one of the carts has been turned around, and I've got a feeling that might have been, that is Van Overloop. So Van Overloop was going for it with Thien, and Thien was not giving any quarter whatsoever. So Van Overloop drops to the bottom of the field as we now complete the first lap here. So on to lap number 2. Renhofer now starts to lead. 0.4 of a second ahead of Kai Rilets. Jaden Thien a further 0.8 of a second or so behind in third position. Ed Bouton rounds out the top 4 places, with Frederik van Overloop completing the top 5. And this is where it's going to get rather interesting, because we've seen that Rilets has been the one that's being chased. Now he's doing the chasing. And what that also means from a karting perspective, for those very much uninitiated with the form, the art form that is karting, that when you're doing the chasing, you've got no pressure. And now Rilets goes for the lead up the inside of Renhofer, and now takes the lead back on the concluding parts of lap number 2 across the line. So on to lap number 3. As Renhofer getting a bit racy, sends it up the inside of Hilitz to retake the lead. Hilitz looking again back for that lead, going through into the right-hander. But on this particular occasion, Renhofer keeping very tight, neat and tidy there. A little bit of contact, but that's allowed Jaden Thien. Oh, Thien has a massive moment. Oh, big time moment for Jaden Thien. He closed on them, hand over fist, and the cart just bumped over the curbs, spat the cart up into the air, turned him around 360. That was a hard hit. But Jaden Thien is back and circulating as Frederik van Overloop has set the fastest lap out of anybody in this race so far after lap 2, 49.434 from Van Overloop, as Hilitz and Renhofer continue squabbling at the front of the field. And those curves just really unsettle the kart if you hit them at the wrong trajectory, and that is exactly what happened with Jaden Thien. Now is behind Ed Boutron, and that could be a very interesting battle, and Thien really trying to go for it, and has he got past? That's the biggest conundrum I need answering round about now. Is Jaden Thien ahead of... no, I think Thien might have just had another moment, and that's put him behind. Let's just see. There is Jaden Thien. Yes, he's down in 5th position. So this will net him 11 points. Now, for those wondering about the results, there will be 2 drop scores. So the best 4 out of 6 rounds will count towards their total at the end of this season. So we're going to keep these finals around about the same distance for the first one. So we're going to have it for 10 laps. I think at the end of the day, I think the 10 laps work really well because at the end of it all, we want to... Well, what about you at home? What about you watching on Twitch and on Facebook? No, not Facebook, YouTube. My apologies there. Do you want to see these drivers literally do the same amount of distance? Because normally with the Euro Trophy in the second final, it's normally for, say, if it's 7 minutes plus an additional lap in the heats, it's 11 minutes plus an additional lap in the finals. But we'll keep it to 10 laps for this one as Kaya Hilitz is setting the timesheets alight purple. Well, he did briefly because Jaden Thien has gone purple in sector number 2. Renhoff has gone purple in sector number 3 and has closed the gap to Kaya Hilitz to just over a second at this particular moment as Jaden Thien puts in a 49.199, fastest in sector 2, personal best by over 0.3 of a second in sector number 3. Brilliantly done there, as there is Van Overloop looking to go up the inside of Boutron. Oh, Van Overloop sends it wide. Look towards the outside, and here comes Jaden Thien, and he will start to close in on the 2 in front. He's nearly 1.5 ahead of anybody. The fastest sector out of anybody in sector 1 is 17.195. Renhoff gone fastest in sector 2 of the 17.138. No driver out of this field as yet. As there, look, Jaden Thien is absolutely lighting up the timesheets. As is Renhofer, who's now the first one again, like in Heat 2. The first one to dip under the 49-second barrier. And I've just seen your comment, Kim. Well put is all I can say about that. You know, and at the end of it all, it's very, very interesting to see as here's a move from Jaden Thien up the inside of Van Overloop. And in many respects, that was only a case of not if, it was when Jaden Thien would get past. But he's having to try and do his best to fend off Van Overloop and then have Boutron just up ahead. But it is getting closer between the 2 leaders because Renhoff has closed the gap now to just over 5.5 of a second. And the thing is, Alexander V, this is a first time for Road to Formula, so please bear with us with all these technical requests you're sending to us. There's only so much we could do on the streams these days, but we'll keep the action to you guys as much as possible. And in some respects, we'll try and see if we can give you an insight into the machinery these drivers are piloting for our next round at Zuera in just a week's time. So very shortly, we'll be going on to our penultimate lap of the first final. Renhofer not allowing Kai Hilitz to breathe at the minute. And now the gap between them is just over 0.3 of a second. Renhofer's gone purple in sector 2. Yeah. So, yeah, it's getting even closer. Jaden Thien, 17-0-2-3. But we do appreciate any suggestions, Alexander V. We'll do the best that we can, my friend. Yep. It's a very, and I've just had Matteo, our broadcast director, say it's a very, very good suggestion. So any constructive feedback will be more than truly welcome, but not too much. There's only so much you can do these days. But look at Renhofer now; he's closing up yellow in sector number one this time around. But it's getting even closer. We're going to go on to the final lap of the first final. So Renhofer looking to steal the lead and what would be the victory. It could come down to the last lap. On to the final lap we go. And Renhofer, 0.2 of a second behind Kai Heelertz, but was quicker by nearly a tenth in sector number one. Into the right-hander, just off of the sweeping right that brought them through the chicane into one of the hairpins as Heelertz runs a little bit wide. Renhofer a little bit tighter on the apex. And now they're going to have this long blast down to the next sort of technical, fast-flowing section here at South Garda Karting. Into the left, into the right. 3 more corners to go. Who's going to draw first blood in the finals? Kai Rilletz keeping a hold of it at the moment. But Renhofer, we've seen it before from the young Austrian. That he's been able to maximise it. But out of the final corner they come. Winning final one from Belgium, it is Kai Rilletz. Ahead of Raphael Renhofer by 0.220 seconds. Jaden Thien recovers from an absolute mare in the first half of the race to take third place, with Frederick van Overloop and Ed Boudron rounding out the 5-strong grid. So Rilletz takes the win. That puts him on 25 points. Renhofer on 20. Jaden Thien on 16. Frederick van Overloop on 13. And then Ed Boudron rounding out the top 5, giving him 11 points after that particular race. So what we will do is very shortly, we'll go to a brief break and we'll get things ready and steeled and primed when someone pulls the pin on the grenade to try and win the second final here on the inaugural round of the virtual Road to Formula Karting Trophy, brought to you in association with Kart Sim Limited, the GPVWC, and also IMB Raceware. Back in just a moment's time. Okay, one race down. We are going to keep it to a 10 lap format for this evening only. It is the opening round of the season. And starting from Zuera next Thursday, we will be doing the full 15 laps. So no penalties issued after the first final. So now it is time to so hopefully after the race, we're going to have a chat with a couple of the drivers. We'll actually see who is our race victor. And at the moment, Kai Rilets is in prime position. If he takes another victory, he has a maximum score of 50 points. And you can just see him out on the circuit at the moment. So here is the grid. So effectively, the results of final number one become the starting grid as well, that's definitely an exit stage left there from Kai. Whoops! Right out off through the barriers. Sorry, that really that sort of that caught me unawares there. So Kai Rielet starts from pole position. Alongside him on the front row will be Rafael Renhofer. Then Jaden Thien in third place ahead of Frederick van Overloop, and then Ed Boudron rounding out the five driver grid here. Okay. Well, so we'll hopefully get things underway very, very shortly for another 10 laps here at South Garda Karting. So the temperature has been pretty much sunshine all the way through. And we just wait for Helix and Van Overloop to just join the grid. We will have a fast formation lap. So effectively, we'll get the formation lap underway and then skip to the far side of the circuit so we can get the racing going very, very quickly indeed. We're just waiting for Kai Helitz to jump onto the grid. There he is. So Helitz will start from pole, Henhofer alongside, Thien in third, Van Overloop, and then Boutron rounding out the five-strong grid. So the red lights go out. They go onto the formation lap. Now we go on board with Kai Helitz and then Rafa Penhofer. Do we go lights out for 10 laps for the second and final race of the evening in terms of the final stages? Yes, we are. And Van Overloop gets an absolute brilliant hole shot. Penhofer now in the lead after just the very first lap, as we've only just had a few corners of it. But then Van Overloop trying to go up the inside of Renhofer. Relitz in third, Jaden Thien running out the top four as up the inside of Van Overloop. Oh, there's a bit of a clash between the pair. And Overloop into the barriers. That might, I'm not too sure whether that was a racing incident or, yeah. Yeah, so looks like there might have been a possible problem with the start side of things, but we always know that even though he does, yeah, I think we might have to restart it. So that looks to be the case. So we are going to reset. Um, so obviously, this is a first, as I said earlier on, this is the first time for us here at Road to Formula. A big thank you to everyone watching for your patience. For those watching on the official Road to Formula YouTube channel, we hopefully want to have a nice full grid by the end of the season. Hopefully, if we can get 10 to 15 drivers by the end of the season at Karting Genk, then we will be really, really happy indeed. And hopefully by then, we won't have the decision made on the inaugural champion of the virtual Road to Formula karting trophy at the Home of Champions Karting Genk. So just bear with us just a moment or two. But a big thank you to IMB Raceware, the GP, VWC, and Kart Sim Limited for their significant involvement in order to help us out with regards to making this happen. So a bit of a reminder, just before we get the second final underway here at South Garda Karting, there's a 1 month free guidance up for tuition up for order by Road to Formula worth €650. That's for the overall champion, with the best 4 out of 6 week race evenings. A set of IMB IMB Raceware custom-made karting or sim gloves will be for the runner-up, and then one data acquisition session on a track of your choice, courtesy of Road to Formula. And every single round will be live broadcasted every Thursday night from 1900 local time in Central Europe. Now let's see if the so you can see the differential there. That is a definitive fast rolling lap. So Renhofer and Van Overloop end up in first and second, but that doesn't tend to sort of phase Kai Helitz, does it? Because he's already on the back bumper going through into the right-hander, and Gillet's already up into second within 3 corners. He was like a rat up a bleeding drain pipe there, Kai Gillet's. So Van Overloop just behind in third place. Jaden Thien rounds out the top 4 at the minute, and is Van Overloop runs a little bit wide through one of the corners, whereas Jaden Thien takes a little bit more curve than the rest, as Gillet's bouncing off the sausage curbs on both parts of the chicane, heading into the final 3 hairpins. That brings them onto the start-finish straight. So, looks like we're going to have lap number 1 in the books, and leading the way by just over half a second is Raphael Renhofer from Austria. Oh, big moment for Jaden Thien going through the final hairpin, and Ed Boudron does a massive avoidance there, and Thien is over. Thien has rolled. Oh my goodness me, that could be that Jaden Thien. Well, he's managed to get it back on all 4 wheels. That's the first flip of the evening. So we'll see if Jaden Thien can close up what is effectively a 12-second gap between himself and Ed Boudron. There is Frederik van Overloop, who rounds out the top 3 as Gillet's looking to do the double, make it a clean sweep in the finals, let alone the 5-second penalty that the 14-year-old Belgian received for Heat 2 earlier on this evening. And the gap now still around about half a second between Renhofer and Gillet's. Van Overloop rounding out the top 3, who took 4th in the previous race in the first final. But Gillet's still doing a really good job trying to keep things rather consistent. He's put in a 49.1, but we've seen in the last couple of races or so, the times have dipped under 49 seconds. And that has meant that Raphael Renhofer was the first person in both races to do so. Could he do that for the 3rd in a row? We'll have to wait and see, as Van Overloop fastest in Sector 1. Gillet's does a sub 17.1 in Sector 2. As they come around the final corner to complete lap 3. And 49.039 from Renhofer. And Gillet's puts in a 49.080, and he takes a little bit of grass and a bit of dust for good measure, going through the far part of the circuit as they go into the first sort of hairpin complex. Gap still around half a second between them. Renhofer quicker in this first sector at this particular moment in time, but there's still a chance that Gillet's will close that gap. We're on lap 4 out of 10 at the moment. After this, there'll be 6 more laps to go. A complete Sector 2. Renhofer quicker than anybody. Jaden Thien is a DNF. So effectively, Jaden Thien, if it's a DNF, there is a no score. So it's not an exclusion though. So that will put Jaden Thien on a total of 16 points after this race. It's a real shame for Jaden. So he's had a couple of there have been some technical issues with software, and sometimes it could have been like the hardware side of things, as Gillet's and Renhofer both back under 49 seconds. And the battle that we've really got to keep our eyes on is the battle that you're seeing on your screens at home. Gillet's trying to close on Renhofer. Renhofer was fastest in the first sector. Well, he's faster than Gillet's in both sectors and was fastest of anybody in sector number 2. And he puts in a 48.8. And that's a 14.3 that he's just put in on sector 3, has Renhofer. So another mistake from Boudron, it looks like. And he's dropped down to about 11 seconds off of the current leader. And there is Boudron, down in 4th place, around about 7 seconds behind Frederik van Overloop. So if a driver does DNF, it is an automatic no score, as you would have in true karting competition. Here at Road to Formula, we want to keep this as pretty much as what we would find in championships like the B&L Karting Series and the Rotax Max Euro Trophy, amongst others, as we go on board with Van Overloop, who is 5.6 seconds off of Renhofer, who's got a lead of just over 8.5 tenths make that a second, as there is Rilets, who's now made another mistake that's put him down. And effectively, from a countback perspective, if it was to finish now, Rilets and Renhofer would tie on points, but the championship leader would be Renhofer because the countback ex Aqua is effectively to the person that secures the best result. So we're going to complete lap number 7 very, very shortly indeed. But Kai Rilets will have to close a substantial gap to Rafael Renhofer in the next couple of laps to have an opportunity to try and go for the victory. So we now head on to lap number 8 out of 10. The gap now over 2.1 seconds. I think that pretty much says it all. And once again, Rilets going through that right-hander, taking a wider line, the kart going out to the left-hand side. So in many respects, it could be the fact that Renhofer has kept patience well and truly part of his mantra this evening, because he's been fighting tooth and nail with Rilets, and now he's the one pulling away like a scalded cat on a hot tin roof. But the gap now dropping ever so slightly, then going back up, so the pendulum swinging backwards and forwards between these two drivers. So Renhofer goes on to the penultimate race lap of the evening here at South Garda Karting. And it's been a pretty good job so far. Renhofer running consistently in the 48.7s, 48.8s. Rilets in the 48.8s as well. Van Overloop's been running anywhere between a 49.3 and a 49.5. Looks like Jaden Thien is actually back out and circulating. So if that is the case, well, it isn't the case because he's still on a DNF. So that is a real shame for Jaden. He will be classified 5th in terms of the point standings. But we will have one more lap to go very, very shortly indeed. And Renhofer not looking backwards, looking forwards. Final lap of the inaugural round of the virtual Road to Formula Karting Trophy here at South Garda Karting in Italy. And Rafael Renhofer from Austria is the young man on a charge, and he's got nearly a 3-second advantage over Kai Rilets in the dying stages. We'll keep on board with him at this particular moment in time. But what a dominant display when it counted the most from Rafael Renhofer. So Rilets still in second, Van Overloop in third, Boutron rounding out the top 4 with a DNF from Jaden Thien. Now, after this chicane, 3 more corners to go. The penultimate right-hander on the circuit, the left-hand hairpin, before one more corner to go. And it is now a victory, the second one of the evening, but it's the one that counts the most. Renhofer takes the victory and wins the event here at South Garda Karting by over 2.8 seconds from Kai Rilets, who will be level on points, leaving this round, heading to Zuera in just a week's time. Van Overloop will then have 16 points to his credit, with Ed Boudron rounding out the top 4 positions. And a real shame for Jaden Thien, because that DNF has put the young Dutch driver on the back foot. So at the moment, Rafael Renhofer is on 45, Kai Rilets 45 points. Then we've got Frederick van Overloop. He will be on 29 points. Ed Boudron will be on 24, and Jaden Thien, I count that as 16 points. So there we have it. Your first evening's entertainment for the next 6 weeks here on the official Road to Formula YouTube and Twitch channels for the virtual Road to Formula Karting Trophy. And hopefully we might be able to see if we can speak to at least one of the drivers this evening before we call time tonight and leave it until next week when we head to Zuera for our second out of 6 rounds. So bear with us. We'll be right back, and hopefully we'll get an interview or two before we get things concluded for the evening. Okay, well, time to have our first interview of the inaugural round of the virtual Road to Formula Karting Trophy. And greetings to a very well accredited young Austrian who's just picked up the series lead and also the first event victory of the season. Rafael Renhofer joins me. Good evening, Rafael. Good to hear from you. How are you, my friend?
I'm fine, thank you.
Now,
Yeah,
obviously, very, very much touch and go between you and Kai Gilertz all the way through the evening. But as we know, in sort of like a lot of uh, karting events that I've seen you at, I've seen Kai at, you made it count when you needed to the most, and to pick up the victory in final number two must have been quite a satisfying feeling.
yeah, it's great. Of course, I need to get used a bit to the racing style we had in this sim series at first, but yeah, happy with the result in the end.
And of course, now we go to a very different track next week to Zuera in Spain. I'm sure that you're going to be putting in the time behind the wheel of the simulator to get yourself ready to defend your championship lead.
Yeah, for sure. I don't even know the track right now, so I'll have to put in some laps.
Ja, no worries. Well, herzlichen Glückwunsch, Raphael, und bis nächste Woche.
Danke. Ciao.
Okay, ciao. Let's see if we can speak to Ed Bouton, who joined us in the latter stages of this evening's festivities. Ed, are you there, my friend?
Yes, I'm there. Hi, everybody.
Okay. Well, firstly, welcome to the virtual Road to Formula Karting Trophy. Good to see that you joined us in qualifying Heat 3. But did you have fun out there? That's the main thing.
Yes, we had a lot of fun. We are
Mm,
driving from Mexico, so we are very happy to represent Mexico in this trophy.
mhm.
And we look forward to go to Zuera next week and also to Le Mans to other track. I think it will be amazing, and I'd like to congratulate you. It's a very nice initiative you've done, guys, to organize that trophy with such a good platform car team.
That's brilliant. That's really, really pleasing to hear, Ed. And thank you very much for your participation this evening. And we'll see you next week at Zuera next Thursday, my friend. Well done this evening.
Thank you very much, guys.
Okay, well, to round off the evening, we're going to speak to the 2020 Rotax Max Euro Trophy champion and also the current leader in the BNL karting series in junior Rotax, Kai Gilertz, joins us live and direct. Good evening, Kai. How are you, buddy?
Hello, I'm good, thanks. What about you?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good considering the circumstances that we're all in at the moment. But that must have been a lot of fun having all that battling with the likes of Jaden and Rafael, and you got your fair share of victories this evening. But Rafael just sort of got the better of you in final number two, didn't he?
Yeah, sure, he was really fast and make some stupid mistakes in the final.
Mm. But still, you're level on points going into Zuera. Is that a track that you're looking forward to sort of getting to know over the next week and sort of give it your all and try and steal the championship lead heading into Le Mans?
Yeah, it's a really nice track and we hope we can also win there. So we will
Mhm.
see what will bring.
Okay, well, Kai, thank you very much for taking part this evening, mate, and we'll see you in a week's time.
It's good. See you fast.
Okay, cheers. So that is it from us here at Road to Formula for the inaugural round of the virtual Road to Formula karting trophy, brought to you in association with Kart Sim Limited, the GPVWC, and IMB Racewear. Don't forget, next week, 1900 Central European Time, next Thursday, we will be back in action. And that will be the 19th of November, where we head to sunny Spain to the Circuito Internacional de Zuera in Spain for our second round of what's going to be a fantastic 6 weeks. Thank you very much for joining myself, Alex Goldschmidt, your official commentator, and us here on Road to Formula. Thank you very much for watching, and above all, look after yourselves, stay safe, and be there for your friends when they need you most. Take care Good night.